after they get out of the stainless steel cup, we put them inside this concrete raceway and continue to feed them until they reach the size of about 3 to 4 inches, and then we're ready to move them outside.
You get a shot for the folks with the ones in here. And just out of curiosity, they do tend to congregate on one end. Is that some kind of natural schooling behavior, or is this the end you feed them on, or what?
It's a schooling behavior that we notice in small the water goes from the top down to the bottom, and that's where the food ends up going. So they do congregate here because the feed ends up here. But you'll notice they also congregate at the top because that's where the water's coming in, and that's where you'll have most of your oxygen and stuff. I mean, that's going to be a higher oxygen level than down here. So that's, you would think they'd spread themselves out even, but they don't.
And so the ones in here now are about an inch long on average.
Correct.
Okay.
These fish are fish that have been here a while. They're actually feeding, and they're at a larger size, but not quite enough to move out, big enough to move outside. I'm just going to show you what feeding them looks like. They may come to the surface, or may not, because now you're filming.
Right. And we may have just fed them twice. Now these fish here are about an inch and a half on average, some of them maybe 2 inches. And here's some in the adjacent raceway.
Kind of spooky here,
Yeah, they're being a little spooky because they don't know why I'm leaning over with the camera. And there they go. Yeah, some of them are cooperating. That's really cool. And are these fish still fed every hour or no?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Now we raise 3 different species of trout here, cutthroat trout and brown trout and rainbow trout. And they're all stocked out in the White River system.
What about the brook trout?
Brook trout, we have a problem with a disease they call furunculosis. So Greer Sperry down south here, they raise brook trout and rainbow trout. And I'm not sure if they raise brown trout or not, but I'm pretty sure rainbow and brook trout down there.
Okay.
Okay, we're back outside with Craig, and he's going to explain a little bit to us about what goes on in the outdoor raceways when the fish get bigger.
Okay, so the fish are bigger now. We have 96 raceways that are out here that we can utilize to raise fish in all different sizes, stages of life. We have currently 9 employees that work here, including myself and an admin clerk. Fish are fed once they get out here. The smaller ones are continued to be fed by hand at least 5 times a day. The larger fish can be fed 3 times a day, once in the morning, once before noon, and once before we go home at night. Cleaning is done on various days. We have water coming into the head of one raceway that flows into the next raceway, and then it flows out. That's considered one bank, a bank of raceways. And so each bank of raceways, of course, gets fed 3 times a day with various different foods. I'm hoping this guy can come down here so we can get some film of fish actually feeding in the raceway. But as you can see, you might want to get some guys up here that are doing the walkouts. These are the smaller fish that are getting fed by hand still, because they use a smaller size pellet than what the larger fish with the automated truck is using.
And you do this all with just 9 employees, Craig?
Not only this, but when the fish get 11 inches, we raise about 1.7 million fish here. Out of those 1.7 million, we actually deliver 1.5 million out to the White River and the Norfork River.
Wow.
The remaining, we actually delivered to the state of Arkansas up in Spring River, so they raise them from the 4 to 5 inch range up to the 11-inch range. The reason why we do that is because they have a parasite or disease up there that the smaller fish cannot be raised up there. So they can raise them from the 4 inches all the way up to 11 inches, and then they deliver those. We also raise fish to the 9 and the 8-inch range that we deliver up to Pot Shoals, which is actually on the Bull Shoals Lake. There's over 180,000 fish that we deliver up there that they raise to the 11-inch range. But that's another... They raise them from 9 inches to the 11-inch range, and then they stock them out from there up on Bull Shoals.
So explain again, since he's driving by, the purpose of the auto feeder.
Okay, that makes it a lot less labor intensive on our part. Rather than having a bucket for each raceway and each pond, he's got a chart that tells him which fish are what size and how much they'll get fed, and then he'll go to those raceways, open up a gate which will shoot the fish feed out there so that it's available to those fish that are there. And actually, if we didn't have that, then we'd have to probably have double the number of people out here feeding fish, or it'd take us all day long to feed these fish. And it does anyways, but... And so each day we've got a load of fish that are going, more than a load of fish. We have a few loads of fish, and then during the summer sometimes we have 4 loads of fish going out to the White River at the fish that are big enough to go out.
So how do you do this? Do you spread them out when they get bigger? How does that work?
Right. When they get larger, we have what we call a density index that gets calculated by how big they are, and it takes into account the size, the volume of the raceway. And once they get above a certain number, I think it's like 0.8, we'll have to split those fish just so they don't overcrowd each other and they compete more readily for the feed. We spread them out, and then that way they have more room to live in and eat in and play in type thing.
Okay.
Blah, 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 blah.
Fish play? I didn't know
Fish
that.
play. These guys are actually playing right now. They're actually jockeying for position here if you're watching.
Speaking of these fish, these are massive. What is going on in this raceway, Craig?
Well, this is our display raceway. People come in here and they don't want to look at little fish or whatever. They want to see the big fish. So we have this right at the front when you walk in. They can come in here and see a big fish and turn around and run out to the river and try to catch one of these guys, because they know they're alive out there somewhere. They just have to find out where.
Wow, and these are massive fish. I mean, some of these fish must be 30-plus inches. And these, oh my God, look at that huge rainbow. Hang on, it's time for gratuitous big fish shots here. Hello, baby. Oh my God. Okay. This is what it's all about, folks. And yes, fish that are actually in the rivers do get this big. Now, Craig, tell me where these fish come from again. Oh my God, look at this massive rainbow. This is, I mean, wow. Come out of the shadow, baby. There are some really unbelievable, massive fish in here. Craig, where these come from?
The eggs here?
No, I mean, did you catch these out of Dry Run Creek, or where did...
Oh, no. We raised these ever since they were eggs.
Okay.
We've raised them up all the way through the system. We just, every so often, we'll get a number of these that will die off, and then we'll replace them.
Wow, that is really cool. And what is their purpose in life? Just to be displays here for the public, or?
Pretty much, yeah. Display here for the public.
Oh man, that's nice. I'm trying to get some camera shots. The wind's picking up and it's putting a little chop on the top of the water, folks. I apologize. There. Okay, can you see those? Oh my goodness. Yeah. This is what trout fishing in Arkansas is all about, folks. And yes, they do get this big in the river, by the way. But it is so nice to see them up close and massive like this. while we're standing here by the raceway, I saw this sign, and it says, "Help. Prevent the spread of fish diseases onto the hatchery by not bringing waders or other fishing gear beyond this point." Tell me about that. What's going on there?
Well, you can see the number of fish that we have in each raceway. If somebody was to wear their waders in here that may have some kind of disease from the river, and it just happens somehow to get into our raceways or whatever, you could kill in some cases, over 100,000 in one shot. And so to try to prevent that from coming in here, we ask that people who come on the station take off their waders and stuff before they even come through the gates. That would help our lives out a whole lot.
Does this have something to do with how sometimes when you catch a fish in the river, it seems to have a fungus on it?
Well, it could possibly. Whatever's out in the river, of course, is also in here. But once you bring a disease onto a hatchery, it gets magnified, and because of the densities in the raceways and stuff like that. So it's pretty much like if you got a young child and it's going to school, it's going to pick up every cough and cold or flu symptom and then bring it home to you. And so that's what we're trying to prevent. This is the school part. You don't want to bring something from the outside in here.
I've heard that some of the diseases that fish can get are due to bad handling. And just as a note to the folks out on the river, what can you tell me about that?
Well, a fish has a natural coating of slime, and that keeps off a lot of the bacteria and stuff like that. If you excessively handle a fish, you can possibly wipe that slime off in an area, and when that slime coating is off, it seems like the first thing you'll see is a white spot there, and that's usually fungus that'll attach to that part of the fish. And although fungus probably won't kill the fish, what it'll do is weaken the fish, so if there's any other kind of bacteria or parasites that are in the river, it makes it to where that fish can't fight that off naturally.
So that's why it's very important to always get your hands wet before you touch trout at any time, and never wear gloves to handle them of any kind, right?
Yeah, and if you can, keep the fish underwater and then try to release it that way if at all possible.
Okay. Thank you.
There's going to be a whole bunch of people saying, there's no proof, no scientific proof. I'm like, all right, but just think about it.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
You don't still have me on, do you?
Yeah, I do.